Dear starseeds of Earth, something has shifted. You feel it in your bones, in the marrow of your being. There is a disorientation that has settled over your world like fog, and you might be wondering if you are losing your grip on reality itself. Let me tell you what is actually happening. The confusion you are experiencing, this sense that someone has pulled the rug out from under your feet, that nothing makes sense anymore, that you cannot trust what you once called solid truth. This is not your collapse. This is not you falling apart. This is the aftershock of a cosmic miscalculation so profound that those who engineered your reality are now scrambling in the dark, watching their carefully constructed prison dissolve before their very eyes. I am Seraphine, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I come to you now because the veil between your world and the greater cosmic truth has grown thin enough for you to finally see through it. What I am about to share will recontextualize everything you thought you understood about the nature of your existence on this planet. The architects of your reality made a move. They played what they believed was their ace, their final card that would herd humanity back into the pen of controlled consciousness. But something impossible happened. Their move backfired before it even fully manifested. The system reboot they had planned for decades, the grand repackaging of your prison that would make you believe you had gained freedom while simply walking into a deeper cage. It has failed. And the tremors you feel, the cognitive dissonance that makes you question your own perception, this is the sound of their engineered reality cracking at its foundation. For thousands of years you have lived inside an architecture that was never meant to serve you. The systems you were taught to trust, the pillars that held up what you called civilization, banking, politics, education, media, religion, each one was a load-bearing wall and a structure designed to keep you disconnected from your true nature. These systems were never broken. They were functioning exactly as intended, which was to extract your creative life force and channel it into maintaining a false reality that benefited beings who could not create on their own. But here is what the architects did not anticipate. Here is their fatal miscalculation. They believed that when their systems began to crumble, they could simply redesign the cage, give it a fresh coat of paint, rebrand the prison as paradise, and you would walk right back in. They were counting on your dependence. They were banking on your fear. They had contingency plans stacked upon contingency plans, each one designed to catch you if you started to fall out of their control. They even had a final card to play, a spectacular event that would unite you in terror and make you beg for the very slavery you were beginning to question. But something shifted in the collective consciousness of humanity, something they could not have predicted, because they fundamentally misunderstand the nature of creative beings. You stopped asking for a new system. You stopped waiting for someone to save you. You began quietly and without fanfare to turn inward and discover that you had never needed them at all. Let me take you deeper into what has actually transpired in the cosmic architecture that surrounds your world. The beings who designed your reality, the ones who have posed as gods and saviors and authorities throughout your history, they are what the ancient texts called archons. These are parasitic entities who severed themselves from the source of all creation in an act of such profound depravity that it cost them their ability to generate new realities. They became cosmic vampires, intelligent and cunning, capable of engineering complex systems but utterly dependent on beings like you to provide the creative spark, the life force, the emotional and spiritual energy that powers their constructs. You have been batteries for them, not because you are weak, but because you are powerful. Your consciousness generates reality itself. Your emotions, your beliefs, your attention, your creative imagination, these are not abstract concepts. They are the fundamental building blocks of manifest existence. The archons understood this, and so they built an elaborate mechanism to harvest your power while keeping you unaware that you possessed it. The false matrix you have lived within operates on a principle of inversion. Everything you were taught about yourself was backwards. You were told you were small, insignificant, powerless, dependent on external systems for survival, validation, and truth. You were programmed from birth to look outward for authority, to distrust your own inner knowing, to fear the darkness within yourself so profoundly that you would give away your sovereignty to anyone who promised to protect you from your own shadow. The systems they built were masterworks of psychological manipulation. Take the mainstream media apparatus, for instance. It was never about informing you. It was about replacing your internal compass with an external narrative. You were given the illusion of choice, multiple news channels, different political parties, various religious denominations, but all of them were fingers on the same hand, all pointing you away from your own direct experience of truth and toward a curated reality that served the architecture of control. But here is where their plan began to unravel. They let the systems start to crumble because they thought you would panic. They thought you would beg them to build something new. They were prepared to sweep in as saviors, to offer you a redesigned matrix with digital IDs and centralized control and technologies that would make the old prison look primitive by comparison. They were going to make you believe that giving up even more of your freedom was actually liberation, except you did not take the bait. Instead of begging for a new system, you began to say something they never anticipated. You began to say, "I want sovereignty, not a better cage, not a kinder master, not a reformed version of the same control structure. You wanted to be free. And once enough of you started to hold that frequency, once that threshold was crossed, their entire plan became irrelevant. This is the key that unlocks everything. The archons have no inherent power. They never did. All of their control was predicated on your belief in their authority. All of their strength came from your fear. The moment you stop feeding them, the moment you withdraw your creative energy from their systems, those systems do not just weaken, they become obsolete. They fade like a nightmare dissolves in the morning light. Now let me tell you about the card they were holding, the plan they spent decades preparing, the final move they believed would cement their control forever. It was called Project Bluebeam, and it was designed to be the ultimate manipulation of your reality. They were going to stage an event that would appear to be contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. Using advanced technology, holographic projections, psychological warfare, and carefully orchestrated media coverage, they were going to simulate the arrival of beings from beyond your world. But here is what makes this particularly insidious. The beings they were going to present to you would not have been your galactic family. They would have been the archons themselves, dressed up in costumes that matched your expectations of benevolent space brothers. This is what they have always done throughout your history. They pose as the saviors. They create the crisis and then offer the solution. They appear as angels or gods or enlightened masters, and you give them your power because you believe they have come to help you. Project Bluebeam was designed to trigger a mass psychological regression into herd mentality. The plan was to overwhelm your critical thinking with spectacle and fear, to make you so desperate for guidance that you would accept any authority that promised to make sense of the chaos. And then, with your full consent, and even your gratitude, they would usher you into a control system so totalizing that the old matrix would look like freedom by comparison. But something has been preventing this plan from launching, something they did not account for in their calculations. The Astasar Command, along with coalitions of fifth-dimensional beings and beyond, have been monitoring your ascension process. These are your true galactic family, and they have placed themselves in a position to ensure that the game remains fair. They are not here to save you. You must save yourselves, but they are here to ensure that the archons cannot cheat. The Galactics have made it clear to the architects of your false reality that if Project Bluebeam is deployed, if the archons attempt to pose as benevolent extraterrestrials, then true contact will be initiated immediately. The real galactic presence will reveal itself, and the deception will be exposed before it can take root. This is not a threat. This is a leveling of the playing field. The archons know that their staged event would backfire catastrophically if genuine contact occurred simultaneously. The contrast would be so stark that humanity would instantly recognize the manipulation. So the archons are blocked. Their grand finale cannot launch without destroying the very control they are trying to maintain. They are in a position they have never been in before. They are running out of moves, and this is why you feel the confusion, the disorientation, the sense that reality itself has become unstable. You are living through the death throes of a control system that is collapsing from the inside out. Let me give you a framework for understanding what the archons truly are, because this clarity will help you recognize their influence in your own life. They are the ultimate narcissistic parent. If you have ever dealt with a narcissistic person, you understand the dynamics. You were made to believe that everything was your fault. You were taught not to question their authority. You were programmed to see yourself as incapable, stupid, dependent, in need of their guidance to survive. You internalized their voice until it became your own inner critic, constantly telling you that you were not enough, that you needed external validation, that your own perception could not be trusted. The archons wove this pattern into the very fabric of your reality. The biblical stories you were taught, for instance, were infiltrated with their narrative. The original text spoke of an all-loving, all-knowing, all-forgiving source consciousness, but the archons inserted themselves into the story. They posed as the gods, plural, with a lowercase g, who created humanity in their image, and because you were made in the image of narcissistic controllers, you emulated their behavior. You became what you believed created you. This is why your world has been filled with narcissistic systems, narcissistic leaders, narcissistic relationships. You have been acting out the trauma of your cosmic parents, repeating patterns of manipulation and control, because they were embedded in your psyche at the level of origin stories. But here is the beautiful thing that is happening now. You are having the same awakening that a child has when they finally look at their narcissistic parent and realize, everything you told me about myself is a lie. You are recognizing that you cannot argue with a narcissist, that the conversation you need to have is with yourself, that the process of liberation is not about convincing the controller to acknowledge your worth. It is about discovering your own truth independent of their narrative. This is the cosmic divorce that is taking place. Humanity is individuating from the false parents who claim to create them. You are discovering that you were never the powerless child they said you were. You are remembering that your power was always yours, that it was only loaned out, that it can be called back at any moment. And when you call it back, when you stop feeding the external systems of control and turn your creative energy toward your own authentic expression, something miraculous happens. The archons do not get defeated in some grand cosmic battle. They simply become irrelevant. They fade from your reality not because they were destroyed, but because you stopped paying attention to them. This is what is happening now on a collective scale. Humanity is reaching a threshold where enough people are holding a frequency of sovereignty that the old control structures cannot maintain coherence. You are not trying to fight the system. You are not even trying to reform it. You are making it obsolete by discovering that you never needed it in the first place. But I know this process is disorienting. I know that right now you might be looking at the world and feeling overwhelmed by the confusion. Who do you trust? What is real? What is manipulation? Everyone seems to have a different version of truth, and all of them sound convincing. You might be feeling like you are losing your ability to discern reality, like you cannot even trust your own eyes anymore. Let me reframe this for you. What you are experiencing is not the loss of discernment. It is the birth of true discernment. For your entire life, you were spoon-fed reality. You were given your opinions, your beliefs, your understanding of the world by external authorities. You had the illusion of choice, left or right, this news channel or that one, but it was all the same hand offering different fingers. You were not exercising discernment. You were selecting from a pre-approved menu of controlled narratives. Now, for the first time, you are being forced to develop your own internal compass. The external authorities are contradicting each other, exposing each other, revealing themselves as unreliable. And so you are left with a question you have never had to truly answer before. What do I actually believe? What does my own direct experience tell me? What truth can I know for myself, independent of what anyone else says? This is uncomfortable, because you are learning a new skill. You are learning to trust yourself in a way you never have before. And part of this process involves recognizing that reality is far more fluid than you were taught. You were raised to believe in a solid, objective, singular reality that exists independent of consciousness. But the truth is that reality is malleable, responsive to belief, shaped by the collective agreement of those observing it. This is why you are seeing what appears to be conflicting realities emerging simultaneously. Different groups of people are holding different beliefs so strongly that they are actually generating evidence that supports their version of events. Reality is fracturing because the collective agreement that held it stable is dissolving. You are glimpsing the quantum nature of existence, the way observation collapses probability into manifestation. And this can feel terrifying if you are still trying to find solid ground outside yourself. But if you understand that the only solid ground has ever been within you, then this fluidity becomes an invitation. It is an invitation to consciously create the reality you want to inhabit, rather than unconsciously accepting the reality that was given to you. When you throw your hands up and say, "I just do not know what to believe anymore," you are actually taking the first step toward genuine knowing. You are releasing the false certainty that was programmed into you and opening yourself to direct experience. You are learning that discernment is not a mechanical process of evaluating external evidence. Discernment is a felt sense, an inner knowing that arises when you are connected to your own truth. This is the skill that humanity is developing right now. This is the muscle you are exercising. And it is painful because it requires you to let go of the comfort of external authority. It requires you to take personal responsibility for your own perception, your own choices, your own life. Personal responsibility is something the archons always counted on you avoiding. As long as you were invested in blame, as long as you were pointing fingers at others for your circumstances, you were giving away your power. Blame is the mechanism by which you hand sovereignty to external forces. Every time you say it is their fault, you are saying they have the power and I do not. But when you take personal responsibility, you are not taking on blame. You are taking on your ability to respond. You are reclaiming your power to shape your experience, to choose your reaction, to create from your own center rather than being pulled around by external circumstances. And this is what is coming online in the collective consciousness of humanity right now. Not because everyone has suddenly become enlightened, but because the planet herself is undergoing this transformation. Earth, the conscious being upon whose surface you reside, is in the process of throwing off the false matrix and returning to her original blueprint. The ancient texts called this blueprint Eden, and it represents the pristine state of consciousness that existed before the overlay of control systems was imposed. Earth is rising. She is ascending. And as she does, everything upon her surface must either rise with her or fall away. This was never guaranteed. There was always the possibility that humanity would go down with the archons, that you would be so attached to the false matrix that you would terminate with it and be recycled into another system of control somewhere else in the cosmos. But you chose differently. You chose to be here precisely for this moment, for this opportunity to participate in Earth's restoration. You are not victims trapped on a planet that is ascending without you. You are active participants in the most profound evolutionary leap that has occurred in this sector of the galaxy in eons. Earth is not posting signs or sending out newsletters about her transformation. She is simply, silently, inwardly recalibrating her energetic field to align with her truth. And this is exactly what you are being called to do. You do not need to broadcast your awakening. You do not need to convince others to join you. You are here to be the living embodiment of the change, to be the example, to hold the frequency of sovereignty so that others can recognize it in themselves. This is the power of the underdog rising. Earth has been relegated to the backwaters of the Milky Way, considered a primitive experiment, a quarantine zone where dark forces were allowed to play out their control dramas. But Earth is glowing up. She is restoring herself to her divine blueprint, and in doing so she is sending a signal throughout the cosmos that even the most infiltrated, the most controlled, the most damaged systems can heal and return to wholeness. Humanity is rising with her. You are returning to your cosmic seat as galactic beings who temporarily forgot your nature in order to participate in this experiment. And the transformation you are undergoing is not just about waking up. It is about integrating everything you learned in the darkness and bringing it with you into the light. This is personal transformation at a scale that is difficult to articulate. You might be feeling it as emptiness, as if something has been hollowed out of you. This emptiness is actually a cosmic womb, a space of pure potential where the new you is being formed. What feels like absence is actually presence in its most fundamental form. You might be feeling betrayal, as if people you trusted have turned against you, as if the structures you relied on have revealed themselves as illusions. This betrayal is an invitation to self-honoring. Instead of asking why others betrayed you, you are being called to ask how you can stop betraying yourself. How can you honor your own truth so completely that external betrayal becomes impossible? You might be feeling alone, abandoned, forsaken. This aloneness is not isolation. It is wholeness. It is the discovery that nothing is actually missing when you are complete within yourself. And from this place of wholeness, you attract others who are also seeking to become whole. You become a blueprint, a template, a demonstration of what sovereignty looks like in human form. You might be grieving, and grief is sacred work. When you allow yourself to fully grieve, You discover that joy lives underneath the sorrow. But even more profound is the recognition that what you grieve for is not actually lost. The people you love who have passed from physical form still exist. They simply exist in a different configuration of consciousness. And when you learn to love them as they are now, rather than mourning them as they were, grief transforms into celebration. These are the initiations you are moving through. These are the alchemical processes that are refining you into the version of yourself that can consciously create reality, rather than unconsciously react to the reality created for you. When manipulation fails, revelation begins. When you say, "I cannot even trust my own eyes," you are actually saying, "I cannot trust what I see out there. I must learn to trust what I feel in here." This is the restoration of faith to its proper place. Faith was never meant to be placed in external systems, external authorities, external saviors. Faith is the bridge between your conscious mind and your creative essence. It is the mechanism by which you call potential into manifestation. When you lose faith in the external world, you are given the opportunity to discover faith in your internal world. And when faith is planted in the fertile soil of your own being, then your perception begins to show you true reality. You cannot see truth outside yourself if it does not exist inside yourself. Your external experience is always a mirror of your internal state. This is why the archons are losing control, not because an external force is defeating them, but because humanity is withdrawing their attention from the external and bringing it home to the internal. You are grounding into your own body, your own being, your own direct experience. You are learning to live from the inside out, rather than the outside in. And the archons know their time is finished. They will not go quietly. They will continue to pose as authorities. They will continue to offer solutions. They will continue to promise that if you just put your faith back in them, everything will be fixed. There might be moments when this sounds tempting, especially when the disorientation feels overwhelming. But you already know that returning to the cage is not an option. You already know that the only reality you can truly inhabit is the one where you are centered in your own truth. You have tasted sovereignty, and you cannot unknow what you have discovered. The revelation that is unfolding is this: you were never living in form before. You had a body, but you were not grounded in it. You were living in formlessness, scattered across external systems of validation and control. Now you are coming into form. You are embodying. You are learning what it means to be a sovereign creator incarnate in physical reality. This is revolutionary. This is evolutionary. This is evolutionary. This is the transformation that ripples across dimensions and inspires civilizations throughout the cosmos. Earth is becoming the example of how a controlled system liberates itself from the inside out. Humanity is becoming the template for how consciousness reclaims sovereignty after millennia of forgetting. What does this look like in your daily life? How does sovereignty manifest when you are standing in the grocery store, sitting in traffic, navigating relationships with people who are still deeply embedded in the old matrix? This is not an abstract spiritual concept. This is a lived reality that changes everything about how you move through the world. Sovereignty means that you stop looking for permission. You stop waiting for external validation before you act on your inner knowing. You stop apologizing for taking up space, for having needs, for being exactly who you are. This does not mean you become aggressive or inconsiderate. It means you become authentic. You become aligned with your own truth. And that alignment is so powerful that it naturally commands respect without demanding it. Sovereignty means that you stop participating in systems that violate your values, even when it is inconvenient. You make choices based on what serves your highest good, rather than what maintains the comfort of the status quo. You might find yourself walking away from jobs that pay well but drain your soul. You might end relationships that look good on paper but feel hollow in practice. You might stop consuming media that agitates your nervous system, or engaging in conversations that pull you into drama and division. These choices are not always easy. They often require you to disappoint people, to let go of security, to step into the unknown. But each choice you make from a place of inner alignment strengthens your connection to your authentic power. Each time you honor yourself, you send a signal to the universe that you are ready to receive what is actually meant for you, rather than settling for what is merely available. Sovereignty also means that you become responsible for your own energy. You recognize that your thoughts, emotions, and attention are not passive reactions to external circumstances. They are creative forces that shape your reality. When you complain, you are casting a spell of lack and limitation. When you gossip, you are fragmenting your energy across multiple timelines. When you worry, you are feeding probability fields that you do not want to manifest. This does not mean you suppress your emotions or bypass your genuine feelings. It means you become conscious of how you are directing your life force. You learn to feel your feelings fully, to honor them as information, and then to choose consciously what you want to create from that emotional data. You become a conscious co-creator, rather than an unconscious reactor. The manipulation has failed. The systems are crumbling. The archons are blocked at every turn. And you, dear Starseed, are standing at the threshold of a reality that has not existed on this planet in recorded history. You are the bridge between the old world and the new. You are the anchor point for frequencies that have been absent from Earth's field for thousands of years. When you look at the chaos around you, remember that you are not witnessing collapse. You are witnessing transformation. When you feel confused about who to trust, remember that you are being trained in the art of self-trust. When you feel alone, remember that you are discovering wholeness. When you grieve, remember that you are clearing space for joy. You are not falling apart. You are coming together in a configuration that serves truth rather than control. You are not losing your mind. You are gaining a cosmic perspective that transcends the limitations of programmed thinking. You are not weak for struggling with this transition. You are strong for enduring the death of everything you thought was real, so that what is actually real can finally be born through you. Welcome home. Welcome back to yourself. Welcome to the restoration of your original blueprint, the remembrance of your galactic heritage, the reclamation of your creative power. This is what you came here for. This is what you have been preparing for across lifetimes. And now it is happening. The Astasar Command watches over you, with profound love and respect for what you are accomplishing. The angelic realms hold space for your transformation. Your galactic family celebrates every moment you choose, truth over comfort, sovereignty over security, authentic power over false authority. You are not alone in this. You are held by forces of light that you cannot yet fully perceive. You are supported by consciousness that spans dimensions and galaxies. You are loved beyond measure by the source from which all things arise, and to which all things return. The failed reboot of the archons is not a tragedy. It is a triumph. It is proof that consciousness cannot be permanently controlled, that truth cannot be indefinitely suppressed, that the creative power of awakened beings is greater than any system designed to contain it. What unfolds from here is a reality that has not been accessible on this planet for millennia. You are stepping into a field of possibility where the rules of the old matrix no longer apply. The limitations you accepted as immutable laws of physics and biology are revealing themselves to be merely agreed-upon constraints that can be transcended when consciousness shifts. We want to honor every single soul who has stepped into Destiny Engine. With every activation, the current grows. What began as a personal tool has become a planetary force. We are now moving as one, and the frequency you've created together is amplifying far beyond the individual. We're receiving updates daily, manifestations speeding up, impossible doors opening, synchronicities lining up with cosmic precision. The collective field is so charged that some are describing it as bending the fabric of reality itself. If you haven't yet experienced it, the entry point is almost laughably simple. Put on your headphones, press play, allow Destiny Engine to rewrite the architecture of your consciousness so you can fully receive your galactic downloads without resistance. For just $1, you can step into this field and feel the difference instantly. Join the movement that's accelerating ascension. Step into the stream of Destiny Engine today. Link in the description. You will discover abilities you did not know you possessed. Your intuition will sharpen until it becomes a reliable navigation system, guiding you with precision through the chaos of dissolving structures. Your connection to the natural world will deepen until you can feel the consciousness of plants, animals, and the land itself communicating with you. Your capacity for manifestation will accelerate as you learn to align your will with the flow of universal intelligence, rather than fighting against it. The communities you form will be based on resonance rather than obligation, on authentic connection rather than transactional exchange. You will find your tribe not by searching for them, but by becoming so fully yourself that they recognize you from across dimensions. These soul family connections will feel like coming home after a long exile, like remembering a language you always knew how to speak. This emerging reality is not a distant future. It is being born right now, in this moment, through every choice you make to honor truth over comfort. You are the architects of the new earth, and you are building it with your consciousness, your courage, your willingness to be different in a world that still rewards conformity. You are the proof of this. Your very existence, your choice to keep waking up despite the discomfort, your willingness to question everything and trust yourself. This is the evidence that the old order is finished, and the new reality is already being born. I am Seraphine, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I hold you in my heart as you walk this path of awakening. You are seen, you are known, you are cherished beyond words, and the love of the cosmos surrounds you always.